The following is a Hoop Ball presentation. Welcome to the Fantasy NBA Today podcast.
Hello and welcome to Fantasy NBA Today. My name is Neil Rochlani. I'm here with Josh Millman. I am, as you can tell, a bit under the weather, but am going to power through with the help of Josh lifting me up and carrying me across the finish line, or whatever it takes to get the show out. Anyway, if you're expecting to hear Dan Besbris, he is not doing the show on Thursdays or Fridays, so you're stuck with me on Thursdays and Adrian Benjamin's on Friday. Josh, I hope you're doing better than me.
Dude, I am doing better than you, but I'm not going to lie. I'm enjoying sexy voice, Neil. I will try to ramble on as much as possible, like let your voice rest. But I don't know, man. I kind of dig it. You know, I like the raspy sound. I just wish you were feeling better to kind of dig it out. It's you got. I think you've got good host potential with that thing.
Oh, well, thank you. I'll try to get sick every time before I host. All right. So, it's been a long time since I talked to you. How you been? You said you've been right before. You've been traveling. You were in Atlanta.
Yeah. And the past few days, not for anything fun. So yeah, just been a little bit all over the map. But that's just kind of what happens at the end of the regular season, between that and just business and whatever else. It's, all good. How you been other than being sick?
This started on Monday, and I was thinking by today I'd be fine. Yesterday I started to feel better, so I thought today I'd be like 80%, and it's just gone the opposite direction. Yeah, I was too afraid to call Dan to tell him I couldn't do it. So
no. Yeah, Dan's a scary man.
Yes, I don't know if you've seen him. He's very physically imposing.
He truly is.
Yes.
Like, I mean, look, I've spoken to Dan enough that I do not want to be on his bad side. Get one of his long email rants or anything like that. No. Yes. So
he can be very pedantic. I don't know if you heard that.
Pedantic, yes. I know this. That's Dan. But dude, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear you're still day to day.
Exactly.
with flu-like symptoms.
Yes,
but,
yes. I'm thinking about going the Tyreek Evans route and just going full bananas.
Oh no, just don't do that. Don't do that, dude. Then we lose you for 2 years minimum. Don't do that, man. It's just a cold, dude. It's just a cold. Don't take it to extremes.
It's great to have you back on. Thank you for joining me
man,
this morning.
Thank you.
I would have been already signed off by now if it was by myself.
Dude, no problem. All right. Happy to be here.
So if you've been listening to the shows, we've been doing season recaps of teams. We've been starting from the bottom of the league, working our way up top, and I believe this is the second week. So we are on team 9 from the bottom, which is the Memphis Grizzlies. So Josh, today we're going to talk a little bit about a recap of what happened with those players last year. Maybe just a bit on the team, but more on the fantasy side, obviously.
Sure.
And then a little bit about Memphis is an interesting team because they are in complete transition mode. But a little bit about our thoughts on players going into the next season.
Sure.
Any initial thoughts you may have. So let's go ahead and let's start off with the big guy. Let's start off with Conley. Do you think Conley is going to be in Memphis next year?
I can't imagine a scenario that he is. I mean, the only scenario is just no one wants to take on his salary, which I think he's owed $32 million next year or something like that. And just there isn't a team that can make that squeeze. But I mean, everything points to Ja Morant being picked there at number 2. So I have to imagine that Conley, he wants to leave. I mean, it seems like he doesn't want to be on a rebuild, but how many teams that are in kind of win now mode really need a starting point guard? And the only team that I can think of is Utah, because I know that they're pretty much done with Ricky Rubio there. But I think that they're going to try to facilitate some sort of move to get Conley going, and I think it'll all depend on where he ends up. But it seems like just with the Marc Gasol trade that this marriage is pretty much over. And it would serve everyone's best interest if Conley can find a new home come July.
Yeah, the contract is pretty big. I mean, there were. Did you mention Utah? I'm sorry, I kind of checked out there for a second. There was talks about him going to Utah at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything about that in this offseason? I have not heard anything.
No, I'm just trying to connect some dots just in my head. There's nothing that, like, I don't think is, that's just pure speculation on my part. I think, Orlando could be another potential destination for him. But, I mean, the obvious one is probably like Phoenix, but I don't think he wants to just kind of languish out in Phoenix. So, to me, I think just on paper, Orlando or Utah would make sense for Conley. But again, it's just I'm not an NBA executive by any means. And for those two teams to have to swallow 32, 34 million, I don't even know what the number is off the top of my head. That's a big deal for like a one, I think he's got an early termination on his contract also for essentially for a 1 year player, like that's a big pill to swallow. So it might not be as easy as I'm making it sound, but still, I still think the odds of him playing in Memphis next year are kind of not great.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I think it's all going to happen once Golden State's stars make their moves, and then teams will decide: do we want to go for 1 or 2 year time frames?
It could be. It could be one of those. Yeah, it could be one of those summers where I don't want to say it's like it'll happen quicker than it did in baseball, but like until the Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant situation is kind of settled out and see where those guys go, and then Kawhi and everyone else, Jimmy Butler. It's going to be hard for teams to kind of make moves until those free agents have been signed. The cap situations are kind of settled out. So that's going to affect Conley a little bit.
Yeah. So then let's just look from a fantasy perspective.
Yep.
I'm trying to think on the assumption he's not in Memphis, would it make a difference to you where he goes for your evaluation of him?
I mean, it would, but I would imagine that, I would think that Conley, no matter where he ends up, would be largely like a similar type player. I think, look, again, he's a veteran guy. He can score. He's a great facilitator. And as long as he ends up in the right situation, do I think he's, a top 25 guy? Yeah. I mean, that's where he finished on a per game basis. Probably not. His scoring may take a dip, but I still think like top 50, like pretty easily, just, especially on a team like Orlando that's so front court heavy, that he could, he can do his usual facilitating. He'll still score. He'll still shoot threes. He'll still give you reasonable percentages at the point guard position. I still think he's one of those kind of like safe, high floor players, depending on where he goes.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Orlando would be the best option for fantasy.
Yeah,
I think,
agreed.
And I'm always a little hesitant to take that risk. It adds a little uncertainty whenever a guy starts on a new team. And then obviously Conley's had his own injury risk history. So
sure,
I probably wouldn't take him I probably wouldn't take him third round. I think fourth round would be the earliest I look at him.
Yeah, I was going to say, fourth round is probably like, depending on who goes in front of him and what your situation is in your draft.
Right.
It's one of those things where, like the injury risk is real, but then again, like he was mostly healthy this past season. Played in 70 games. So, that's kind of, what you're hoping for in that range when you're investing an early pick on a guy like that. But again, in the fourth, fifth round, there's nothing wrong with taking a guy who is going to deliver value. I at a certain point, you could always try to swing for the fences, but then a guy like Conley, you can bank on 18 and 7 and, good, decent percentages, 3-pointer steals, that's like, there's nothing wrong with drafting a high floor guy, in those rounds and then maybe swing for the fences a couple rounds later. So I would target him in the fourth, fifth round for sure.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm very curious to see where he gets ranked next season. It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Anything more on Conley before I move down the?
I think we've done it, man.
We're
good.
Where do you want to go next? Do you have a preference?
Let's talk about. I guess we got to go with Jaren Jackson Junior since he's the future.
Yeah, I mean, I'm contractually obligated, speaking to Adrian, to talk about Jaren Jackson Jr. as much as possible. All right, why don't you lead us off with JJJ, if you don't mind?
Yeah, Triple J, man. Like what? Look, he flashed last season. Finished top 100 on a per game basis. I went into the season not really kind of knowing, where he might end up. And, we heard a lot about, how like he was this elite defender shot blocker coming out of college, but, how would his offensive game kind of translate? But like, the thing is that this guy he's going to be a cash counter machine for the rest of his career. And just, he shot over 50% from the field. Free throw shooting is okay, but like, I mean, his offensive game is going to mature over time, and you're going to get a guy who, his floor is going to be so high because of the cash counter stats that if he can turn into a more well-rounded and versatile scorer, I don't know. I mean, what's his ceiling, man? Like his top 20, top 15 player? It's that good. So I'm I was super bullish on him earlier in the year. I saw him, I'm a Nets fan. So there was a game early in the season. The Nets played Memphis and they went into like, I don't know, it was like double overtime or something like that. And Jaren Jackson and Mike Conley just absolutely crushed the Nets' hopes and spirits. And it was one of those things where he was knocking. I think he made like a 4-point play at the end of regulation and send the game into overtime. Like, man, that's just. I'm watching him play. I'm like, this kid's going to be really, really good. So, I would imagine that he's probably, I don't know, maybe the injury like kind of knocks him down a little bit, but you're not going to see him slide much past, I don't know what, round 5, round 6. Next year, maybe even like, oh man, it's tough to gauge. But like, if you get him there, you better pull the trigger. But I don't know. There might not be much discount on him next year.
Yeah, I think the discount is dead. I think the hype's going to be ridiculous for him next year, especially if Conley's gone. Yeah, probably. He has such good percentages for a big man. The free throw percentage is just fine.
Yep.
Like you said, he does everything across the board. I think he's going to go like top 25 next year.
Wow, you think that high?
I think that high. If Conley's gone and he's the focal point of the offense, yeah.
Well, the only thing is like here's my only issue with Conley being gone. Let's just assume that Conley's gone and they draft Ja Morant.
Yes.
How is that going to affect Jaren Jackson's ability to have, like an elite point guard feeding him the ball on a regular basis? And it also depends on who the head coach ends up being on this team. It's like, I don't want to, like, again, Triple J's offense needs to mature some more. Can he shoot? Absolutely. Can he get to the rim? Absolutely. But, you're going to draft a kid in Ja Morant who is going to have the ball in his hands probably a lot next year. And I just wonder how that offense is going to – and that offense is going to struggle a lot next year. So, that's the one kind of X factor that to me might – at top 25 just feels really ambitious.
No, I think that's where he goes. I don't think I'll take him there, but I think he's going to have like Miles Turner type buzz. When Miles Turner first had that coming, I think he's going to be on that same plane this year.
That would be a tough hill for me to swallow. Yeah. I mean, like top 50 buzz, like I could get behind that, but like no way. Like top, I don't know. Maybe that's just, I don't know. I guess like in the same vein, like we were all hyped about John Collins this past year. and we talked about him as like in that potential range. So maybe it's the same thing, but I don't know. That might be too high for me.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I don't think he'll finish top 25. I think he'll finish between like 30 and 40.
Yeah, which is why I felt like, okay, if you get him, like if he falls to you in rounds 5, 6, boom, done. But I don't know. Just that, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But again, I think like, look, the player. I think we both agree that the player is legit.
Yes,
especially for fantasy purposes. I think the opportunity is there. But I think we have concerns about the team around him and his ability to deliver on what's likely to be a very, very hyped up preseason.
Yeah, we'll have to see how he does.
Yep.
All right, moving right along here. I'm going to go with, this is probably my most interesting player because, not that he's going to be the best player, but I think he could have the best fantasy draft value, and that is Delon Wright.
Yeah. I
don't know what he's going to, how he will fit in. Let's assume all these rumors are true and Conley's gone and Ja Morant's there. Mm-hmm. Delon Wright, I think, is still getting a lot of minutes, and I think he can be a top 50 player when he's getting a lot of minutes.
Oh, yeah. I think top 50, top 75 for sure. Yep. I think that, the minutes are going to be there. There's the only thing is he a free agent?
That's a great question. I have no idea about contracts.
Actually, I think I'm looking at basketball right now. I think he might be a free agent. Look, it would behoove Memphis to bring him back. If he does, it's a great situation for him. I mean, he was fantastic to end the year. It would behoove Memphis to get him back, if at all possible. There's definitely top 50 potential there for Delon Wright, because you have to figure that, even if they do draft Ja Morant, that, there's going to be at minimum, in a situation like Delon Wright, like at least 25 minutes, per night available. Mm-hmm. And just post All-Star break, I did a quick look. He was averaging 31 minutes a night and was a top 70 player.
Oh, 70? All right, thank you. Okay.
It was top 70 per game post All-Star break. 50 might be ambitious, but I think that the opportunity is definitely there for him. And I'm sure that, if Conley goes, there would be opportunity for him to play alongside of Ja Morant. But again, that's all, speculative if he ends up back in Memphis next year.
Yeah, well, thank you for looking at that contract, because
Again, I'm not entirely sure. I'm going off of Basketball Reference contract stage, and I don't see any number next to 2019, 2020. So I presume that means they got to pony up there. So
okay, who else is interesting for you on this team?
So I'll give you a name that was a lot of people, like especially on our site, hyped up to start the year. He had just signed a new contract with the team, and everyone, and he had the great stat set, great opportunity, and was injured for most of the year. Guy by the name of Slow-Mo, Kyle Anderson. There might be a pretty significant discount on him. So I think he finished the year just like under, on a per game basis, top 100. So I think that he's going to, because of like just he was ravaged by injury this year. So I think, you're going to get, he finished 107 on a per game basis. So I think you're going to get significant discount on him over the year. Like, he's probably just going to be a late round flyer to a lot of people, because again, the popcorn stats are unexciting. But again, on a rebuilding team, he's got a long-term commitment on this team. And again, it depends on the coach that they hire, but he will be overlooked in drafts this year because of the injury that he suffered, because he didn't really have a great, the kind of statistical season that we were all kind of anticipating, but he does it on the defensive end. good shooting percentages. The free throw shooting is kind of lousy, but, stands to improve. But, he gets it done in a lot of ways. And, there are worse flyers to take at towards the end of your draft.
Yeah, he would definitely be one of those flyers for me. He's not someone I'm going to target.
No.
He's been even when the team fit is, I'm still trying to figure out, right? He could be pretty good.
He could be.
Yes, but it's too risky for me to kind of project. But yeah, you're right. He was a hoop ball guy. I think
he was a hoop ball guy. Yeah, a lot of people were invested in him, and just he missed half the season with a shoulder injury. Kind of stinks. Oh, you know what? I think we're cool on Kyle Anderson, the other hoop ball guy, and I can't even believe we're not talking about him right now. I hear Panda yelling at me from Jonas. Let's talk about Jonas Valanciunas.
Yes.
Dude, he was great towards the end of the year, and we all said, he's got a player option for this year, and I would think maybe come back, but we all kind of wondered, especially when he was in Toronto, if they would just let Jonas Valanciunas loose on that team, what he could be capable of. And sure enough, post All-Star break, Jonas was a top 50 player. And and he put up just some monstrous lines. Now, granted that Memphis was pretty depleted by this point in the season. I think Jaren Jackson Junior was pretty much done for the season at that point with his, I think it was a quad injury. But he put up, again, from All-Star break on, it was a 20-10 rest of year line on 54% shooting and 78% shooting at the stripe. That's outstanding. And almost 2 blocks per game. That's just outstanding. And now, do I expect that to continue? No, but if he's back and the new regime in Memphis allows him to play 25 to 28 minutes a game, choo-choo, I'm on the hype train, baby.
You're right.
We love Jonas at hoop ball. So and we've been dying for this opportunity, and we finally get it, and hopefully we can get a full season of it, which would be absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, I am very curious to see where he gets ranked next year, and like you said, if he's on the team. And what is his role going to be? The starting center. It's going to be really fascinating. Yeah, he has. The sky is the limit for him as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
I don't really have anyone else on this roster I'm curious about. At least it's not standard 12-team leagues. Is there
you don't want to talk about Joakim Noah?
I don't want to talk. I live in Chicago, so I
know. I know that there's history there.
There's Noah's been talked about a lot. Let's just say that here in this.
No, there's
Chandler Parsons. Yes.
Chandler. Look, I feel bad. It's just that's clearly a situation gone wrong. What are you going to do? I think that that situation's kind of rough, and but I wouldn't look at Chandler Parsons from a fantasy perspective. And then the other thing, the only other player that I think might warrant a mention, and again, this is also speculative, is Ja Morant. And, and all I'll say about him is that, I think he's the truth. I think he's great, and I think he will be great. The Westbrook comparisons, sure, why not? I'm telling you all right now, he's going to get overdrafted, and I will stake my claim right now, he will not be a top 100 player next year.
Wow, that is bold.
He will not be a top 100 player.
Because of his, is there a certain stat set or just rookie sort of?
I just think adjustment? Rookie point guard. I look at last year and, especially non-cats, because there's just going, the turnovers will crush you. And it takes time to acclimate to NBA offenses. I think that there are popcorn stats available to him, but I don't know how his defense is going to translate to the league. And what I worry. I think of last year. I think of, really the two guys, that headlined the rookie class last year, Trae Young and Luka Doncic at the point guard position.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Trae Young in the first half of last year was putrid. He was terrible. He was out amazing in the second half of last year, but add it all up and he, I don't even know where he finished off the top of my head, but I think it, 9-cat leagues. Yeah, it was under the top, 100 mark. The same thing with Doncic in 9-cat leagues. He's throwing the ball in the stands 3.5 times a game. That's barely a top 100 player, even with near triple double statistics, like on a nightly basis. So I think the 9-catters, 8-cat, throw that away because that prediction is completely invalid. But in 9-cat leagues, I think that turnovers are going to be a problem. I think that, defensive stats, may struggle at first because I think a lot of people will predict that Memphis will probably be a lousy team next year. And that may hinder some of the, just the defensive ability. But, that's going to be my early bold prediction on Ja Morant. But again, people sometimes get hyped over rookies. And I think he'll get overdrafted.
Yeah, when you said that, I tend to play 8-category leagues. So
I needed to caveat.
Yes, I'm glad you did. Otherwise, I would have fell off my chair and then I would have really hurt.
No.
I was thinking not inside the top 50 in 8-category leagues. We'll see.
I think that's actually possible. In 8-cats, that makes complete sense. But again, I do mostly 9-cats.
Okay.
And that scares me to death.
Yeah, well, we'll see where he goes. We'll see if he ends up there. We'll see what Memphis does. This could be a wacky. Who knows what the trade's going to be like before the draft even begins, if there's any moves made. That's my way of transitioning because I am not feeling well.
No.
Is there anyone else? I don't want to rush you though. Is there anyone else?
No. It's not, honestly, Memphis is one of those teams that I know so little about to begin with.
Yeah.
So they're one of those afterthought teams, and they're one of those low key messes. Because all the offseason dysfunction has gone around, like the Lakers and the Knicks, and those are your traditional dysfunctional teams. But Memphis, there's optimism in Memphis because they have the number 2 overall pick and it will likely be Ja Morant, but
right.
They don't have a head coach right now. They're going to have to likely trade their a guy that's been with them for a very long time and is an all-star player. There's been again, I without citing it off the top of my head, there's ownership issues and front office, turnover. If they were in a bigger market, we'd probably be talking more about them. But this is the past 2 years. This is a team that's kind of been a low key mess. So beyond that, that's. There's a lot that needs to shake out for them, but this is a very clear rebuild and will take a little bit, but I think that there are pieces there, but there needs to be a little bit more stability within that organization.
Yeah, that's why I think the variance for all these players is all over the place.
Yeah, correct.
Which makes me going to be a lot less hesitant to draft them at their predicted spots, I should say.
Sure.
All right. Before we sign off, I do want to touch on the NBA playoffs that are in action.
Yeah, why not?
Yes. Do you have any thoughts? So right now the East is 2-2 as we're recording this. Going back to Milwaukee for Game 5 tonight. I believe they're 7-point favorites. Do you have any strong opinions on tonight's game or the series in general?
I don't have any strong opinions. I still think Milwaukee will pull it out in the end, just even as something as stupid and rudimentary as home court. But I also, one thing that I do I want to call out is Milwaukee. Just start making your free throws, guys. 2 losses and they're shooting under 70% from the stripe in those 2 games. Like, the game 3, Giannis was 2 of 7 at the line. Make 2 of those games over and you're up 3-0 in that series. Like, guys, free throws are such, I vented about this with Sorio, I believe, like when we were doing our late night chats, but it's like, you're professionals, man. When I played 2 years of ball in high school, and if we didn't close out practices by making our free throws, the whole team had to knock down 2 free throws, and if we didn't, we were doing wind sprints until we fell. And it's just one of those things where they're free throws, free points. Make your free throws; they're so crucial. So I think that's kind of like, a bit of an X factor because Kyle Lowry in game 4 got to the line 10 times, knocked down all 10 of his free throws, and Toronto's shooting from the stripe well over 80%. And it's been a big difference in those 2 games. So I'm still buying Milwaukee. Someone else needs to step up besides Giannis and Chris Middleton on that team. So I expect better games from Bledsoe and Brogdon.
Yeah, Bledsoe's been the real disappointment, huh?
Yeah.
That's the one factor.
Yep.
I did not see coming. I thought he would be holding his own.
I thought he'd
Lowry,
be much better.
If not better than Lowry. Yeah. He's not.
Yeah.
So, that's one thing that gives me hope for Toronto. But I think it could go 7, and it could go either way at this point. So
I think 7's very likely, to be honest with you. I think it's been. I think after the first 2 games, we all thought, oh man, Toronto squandered game 1, and now they just look overmatched by Milwaukee. But nope, credit Kawhi. Like, Kawhi's a beast, but the difference is that other guys on that team have stepped up. Kyle Lowry stepped up. Gasol stepped up. Norman Powell off the bench has stepped up. And I have to know who else on Milwaukee, besides Giannis and besides Chris Middleton, is going to be. They brought in Mirotic to be that like kind of sniper. Like Brook Lopez, I feel like has been kind of a non-factor the past couple of games. Same thing. Brogdon was I think 2 of 11 in game 4. Bledsoe, like we just talked about, has been all those guys are really, really good basketball players. And someone else needs to be like the third guy to take the pressure off of Giannis and Chris Middleton.
I'll be watching. That's
Same.
I know. I'll be watching.
I'm good. I'm thrilled to be back home and not on a freaking airplane.
Oh,
that
yes.
I can actually watch basketball now. So I'm excited. It's going to be a fun one tonight. Thursday night. So I'm excited.
All right, Josh. Where can everyone hit you up on Twitter or follow you on Twitter? I should say
at Josh Millman. I'm again boring old screen name at Josh Millman. Be on the lookout for our postmortems over at Hoopball. If you want a good sarcastic laugh, you can revisit the Cleveland one because that was, oh man, every bit of sarcasm I could muster oozed out of that one. But I'll also let you know that I am doing my beloved Nets postmortem. And I Neil, you've read me enough. I don't know how to do joy very well. Anger, hostility, sarcasm,
yes.
Those are my wheelhouses, but joy is something different. So I'm a little nervous. I'm not going to lie.
Are you a Brooklyn fan or not?
I am a Brooklyn fan.
Yeah. I mean, the future looks pretty good.
It's good to be a Brooklyn fan.
Yeah.
It really is right now. It's a hell of a season, and just where everyone's all amped up for July. Anything could happen, and even if nothing happens, it's like that's cool. We still got the foundation ready to go.
Yeah, so put a little joy in that.
Yeah, exactly. I'll throw joy in.
Josh, thanks so much for joining me. You can hit me up on
Dude,
Twitter.
Thank you, Neil.
At Ball with Neil, BALLWITHNEIL. Also, I forgot to mention our presenting sponsor is Hawaiian Isles Kona Coffee. You can find their products at hawaiianisles.com or on amazon.com. With that, I'm going to sign off and go back to bed. And Adrian will be with you tomorrow.
This has been a Hoop Ball presentation.